Soulmask is releasing an amazing new DLC to go along with their 1.0 update on April 10th. And this isn't just any DLC, it takes the amazing gameplay features of the original game and ties them into a whole new ancient Egyptian-inspired map with a bunch of new quests and gameplay, but more importantly, a whole new building system. So unlike the original game where you build your base on the ground, this DLC allows you to build your base as a giant airship to travel around the map. And you can build something as small as a little boat or sand ship to a massive village in the sky, fully functioning with your entire tribe, animals, farming, and all of that good stuff. So if you're interested in what you see here today, then be sure to wishlist it through my Steam link in the description, and do stay tuned for my next video where I'll be doing a first look and deep dive into some of the new content. But today I'm mainly focusing on showcasing the ship building, so showing you all of the different options and ways to customize your airship. And I want to give a big thanks to Soulmask for sponsoring this video, and without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so when you start out in the new DLC, you will be presented with a small starter boat here near the starting area, along with a chest with some supplies and building materials to get you started and expand your first little ship. So it does not start as an airship, it actually starts just as a boat. It's got a base underneath it, and it already has some default parts and things already built around it that you can change or expand upon. And you can see here, we can just sail it in the water. So basically the way the game works is as you progress, as you fight bosses, all that good stuff, you start unlocking different shipbuilding options to build much bigger, build different things, and also be able to make it fly and do more things than just default sailing in the water. So that's how you would do it normally in survival. It would take a long time. You go through the game content, you upgrade it, all that good stuff. And I'll be showing you a lot more of that in my next video, but in today's video, I will just be using a creative mode for the sake of being able to show you all of the different options and build a full-on large airship from scratch. Alright, so let's go over all of the different options here, starting with the small wooden boat, which is similar to what the default ship when you first spawn in the game is built upon. And that is the core piece that you place down and then build out however you'd like. And then the next size up, which is the one I am going to be building out today, is the Falcon-Class airship. And this thing gets pretty big, and it looks pretty sweet. And then if you want to go really, really big, you can do the Shark-Class flying airship. And this thing is just gigantic, absolutely huge. And yeah, you could fit a lot of stuff on there. Now you do get a limit of only 4 airships per person, at least at the time I'm playing this game, which is definitely all you'll ever need. But just figured I'd mention that in case anyone is curious. And with that said, sit back, get cozy, and let's get building the Falcon-Class airship. So you can see here, I am starting with just the base of the ship, and I'm going to start by making it fully functional with the engine and the sails and all of that good stuff. So as I mentioned, I'm using a creative mode, but in the engine category here, we have a lot of different options. We have the small engines, which are for the small wooden boat, the medium ones, which will be what I am using, and then the large ones for the Shark-Class ship there. So from the medium engine selection, and all of these for that matter, you can see they each offer different stats. We have ones for agility, we have ones for load, and we also have ones for speed. So I think for this one, I'm going to choose a speed one, the 15 one over here. For a good amount of speed, I'll go ahead and place that one down. And then next up, we have the ship parts here. So anything in the Falcon-Class is what we can use because that's the ship I'm building. So I will do the ship bow over here, which snaps to the front. You don't have to do these, but I think they look really nice. And so I'm going to try to build my airship around them. We have the stern here, which snaps right to the back, just like so. And then we have the rudder, and that will go underneath, right in this location right there. Well, it looks like we have these things for the Falcon-Class, and those will snap right on the outsides here. So maybe we put like 3 on each side? I don't know, we could try that. And then maybe same thing over here. So let me just make sure I'm mirroring what I did on that side. So maybe one here, and there, and there. That looks pretty good. And then what else do we have in the building options? We have the wings, so let me go ahead and use those. And let's put them on. They should snap about, you know, kind of anywhere on the side of the ship. So maybe not the very front. Well, yeah, about the very front. Maybe about right there. And I'll put the one like that. And then we can switch the styles. So I'll press Z and we switch to the other side. And let's put this one right there to mirror that back one. And then we also have some Falcon-Class speed sails in here, which should make our ship a little bit faster. And I'm going to put these right behind the wings, and I'm going to rotate them so they're kind of sideways like that. And this is how everything looks all folded up, but once we fly the ship, they're all going to fold out and look really cool. So I'll put one on the side over there. We can also place these up top or really anywhere we want. So let's switch to this style here. And let's go ahead and put this one right there. Perfect. So now we have the speed sails. And the last thing we need technically, as far as the mechanical parts go, is the airship helm, which can be placed anywhere. So I'm not going to place it just yet, but that is how we control our ship. But I think now I'm going to start working on the deck of the ship and actually building it out to something that looks really cool. So to start the deck here, I'm going to be using the reinforced deck pieces, and we'll start with a large foundation piece here, and these will just snap right to the ship. And I'll start with 2 in the middle like that, and we'll come out on the sides, something like this here. Maybe we'll do a row across right above the engine, come out on the back side here, and then Z to switch to other styles, and we'll go to these large curve pieces. And I want to put one here, and one on this side. And then we will go back to our, let's see here, go back to these pieces here, and then start continuing them all the way across, sort of on this outer section, keeping the middle portion open for now, in case I want to maybe do some staircases down to there, or something along those lines. And then we could finish all the way over here. That's looking pretty good so far. I'm going to continue this floor all the way up to the front portion of the ship right there, and then come out something like that there. And then we can even go to our diagonal pieces there, put a couple of those on each side to sort of taper down the front and, I don't know, make it look pretty cool up here. Not entirely sure. I don't have a full-on plan for what I'm building here, but I think it'll turn out to be pretty good. On the sides here, what I want to do is come down with some stairs. So let's go to the reinforced deck ramps here, or actually the deck stairs. Let's do that. And then I want to snap them, let's see, right on the top like that. So let's put a couple coming down, and this will be how we can enter the ship. So I will bring these down to the water so that they're in there. We can climb up on the ship, and I'll do one on this side as well. That looks pretty good. And now maybe we start on the walls, and we just have so many different pieces to choose from. I want to show you guys here quick, just the deck pieces. We have railings, we have all kinds of things, and we have the wooden deck pieces, which is like the default ship when you first spawn into the game. That's what it's built out of. And we also have all of the usual building pieces: nightstone, blackstone, stone, wood, thatch, sandstone over here, with just all kinds of options. And then, of course, tons of decorations and cool things, you know, chests and all of that good stuff to choose from. So I think for the lower level of the ship, I'm going to stick with the reinforced deck. And we're going to get some of these window pieces, which actually have a cool little glass insert there. And I'm going to choose the straight across one now to put on this very back side. I think maybe I need the slightly smaller one. There we go. I will do that one on the back side. And then for the sides here, let's go ahead and actually use these cannon barriers. And we will put some cannons on the back of the ship here. I feel like that's a pretty nice spot to put those. And then at the bottom here, I see ship cannons. So I'll go ahead and put one there. And then let's rotate that one out there. And we've got two large ship cannons there in the back. And then in the front here of the ship, I kind of want to do like a nice tapered design that really accentuates the front piece here, because I think that looks really nice. So I'm actually going to dismantle a few of these pieces here on the sides. We're going to backtrack just a little bit, and I want to put in some more of the deck pieces, kind of coming in the front section like this. And then I want to taper them in on the side here, something like that. And then for that very front piece, let's take the reinforced deck wall, put it right up against the front there so that it touches. And then to handle this section in here, what I'm thinking of doing is let's go to the walls and let's get these ones, these reinforced triangle sections there. And we can put a couple of those pieces and then go back to these walls here. And I believe we can kind of use these little guys. And let's see, we might want the upside down ones. There we go. And you can see they're not really snapping in the right spots there. So what we may have to do in this case, and if you ever run into this, I have found this to be a little bit tricky sometimes, is we can place a little temporary floor there. And then we'll go back into our building and then take the pieces, and you can see now they snap on just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and dismantle that because we need to bring them out a ways. So I first need to make some little tiny walls. So let's go to these little rectangle walls and let's place a couple, maybe something like this, and then we get down here, place one there, and then one like that, and then same thing on this side. And we'll place this last one right there. Perfect. And now we can go to our little inverted triangles there. And we should be able to, in theory, snap a few of them like that to fill in this portion. And bada bing, bada boom. There we have one of the edges. And let's do another one right up here. And right there. And there is the front portion of the ship looking nice. And now for the top section of the ship, I kind of want to create a challenge for myself and see just how far we can push the building system and what we can do with the pieces. So I think I'm going to try to make it almost look like a pirate ship is emerging from the top of this bird here. That's going to be the design I'm going to go for. So I'm going to use the black stone here to create it. And we'll select the roof pieces and kind of snap one to the outside of here, and then take some of these little inverted ones, little corners there, do something like that. And then I want to take these pieces again, snap a few coming up again, just like so. And now to try to snap on some walls and all of the things like that, you can see here that if I try to go to the wall pieces, it's like they just won't snap to the outsides of the roof. They need to snap to a floor or another wall piece. Maybe they'll fix their snapping system or update it a little bit by the time this update officially comes out. But yeah, we can get around it in the meantime by placing some walls down here. And then essentially going back to our floor pieces, placing some floors, just like so. And then going back to the walls. And there we go. Now we can snap them to the outsides of those roof pieces because there's now a floor here for them to actually snap to. So I'm going to bring some of those like that. And then we want to create maybe some little like inverted ones. Let's get these guys. But you can see here how these need to have like a roof portion to snap to. So again, we have to create some dummy floors, as I'll call them. It'll just be our way to get around the finicky snapping here. So let's go ahead and put some of those there. So now we have a floor officially on the top. And we can go to our walls, these little triangular ones. And now they will snap to the outsides. So I'm essentially making the large front portion of the ship that kind of tapers up here. And now let's go to the roof. pieces here. And let's get this one, and this one. And then do the upside down ones here, which I think we had. Yes, there we go. Let's do a couple of those. And we're going to taper this in. And I think it'll work pretty well. And this will just be a sense of just what you can do with this build system. So again, we're going to do something like that right there. And then we need to create a temporary floor above it again to be able to keep snapping our little wall pieces over. So now for this section, I'm going to do some triangular pieces in the front so that we can kind of create, again, that floor there. And then we'll do some more of the inverted triangle pieces. Put one over here, and again, one over here. And let's just continue this point all the way up to the top. So I'm going to take my pieces there, and then I'll go ahead and take the upside down one, put it there, and do the final little point like that. I think this is going to look super cool when it's done. And again, we'll kind of clean up all of these little temporary floors and stuff eventually here. But for now, that'll work okay. So now let's do the little side walls again. So I'll put something like that and like that. And then again, we have to put some little floors above them. So I'm going to actually continue with those little floors there, just so we have some room. And then continue with some walls up front, just like so. And then we'll go to our triangle floor pieces, put a couple of them like that. And then maybe actually, we'll do a little rotate, put one like that there, so we can build the next level. And then the triangle pieces to fill in the sides. One there and one there. And then one final level here. So let's just put some of these pieces here, put one there and there. And then same thing, we need to do one up front there so that we can put the triangular floor, just like so. And then fill in the last little bits. And that looks really, really cool. I love how we can do and really just design this however we want to. So I don't really need these floor pieces here anymore. I'm pretty sure I can just destroy these. Let's see what happens if I try to. Yes, everything else stays, so we're good to go there. And to clean up this front end a little bit, I am going to just fill these in maybe, and maybe fill these little sides in here, just like so. See, we could kind of do some little stairs and things to go up to the higher deck portion. And let's take some of these ones to kind of taper down. Oh, this is actually working so well. I can't believe it. That actually kind of looks like the front of a boat here. That's not looking bad at all. All right, so maybe I do something similar to exactly what we did here, but on this back side. And to do that, I'm going to need to fill in above what we did for the little base of things here. What I think I'm going to do is just continue this whole back section up by half a block high, just like that. And I think we can take little curved ones. We don't have curved walls in this section, so I think we will have to use our curved pieces for the deck here. I'm not sure. Yeah, they don't quite match up in this case. So maybe we just end up putting them a little bit too high, and then maybe we can sort of fake it a little bit here. So let's go back to the black stone and continue a floor across the top here. And I think maybe this will work. We can kind of cover up those top pieces and get this to work out. So we now have the floor there, and we can do what I did before, taking these shallow roof pieces and putting some up like that. And there we go. Yeah, this is going to work, I think. It'll just blend seamlessly right from the top of the ship to create sort of our back section there. And with this part, I don't know if I'm going to do it quite as pointy as the front section. I think maybe we taper in a little bit, something like this, but then maybe we leave it. Maybe we don't do the entire back point there like we did on the front side. Oops, let's see if we can get this one to snap here. Last one, there we go, perfect. So maybe we just leave it like that, and then on this side we just go up. So that comes out by 2. We want to go up by a full wall piece up here. So again, let's go to the blackstone and maybe some windows in the back, but you can see here it doesn't want to snap there. So we do have to sort of continue our walls up the side. So that one collides with this building piece underneath it. So this may actually not quite work. I'm going to have to get rid of this, and then we may just have to sort of do some kind of a taper to hide that piece, which I think could probably work. We'll figure something out. So I'll do this, and then we'll go ahead and put our little wall pieces there. Go ahead and put these there, and then continue out with our little temporary floors, just like that. There we go. And then put our little upside down triangle pieces. There we go. And same thing. We're just going to continue our walls up, and then do the triangle floors here. So we'll do a normal floor first, just like that. Then we'll take the triangle ones so that it can kind of taper in evenly, just like this. And I think that will work for our wall along the backside. Yeah, if we just place 2 like that, and then we can fill in there and fill in over here, just like that. And now we should be able to take our windows. Yeah, I'll put 2 windows behind the backside. Make like a full back section of the ship. We could even put some cannons up here. I don't think we have cannon wall pieces on the normal things. We could take our reinforced deck and put a couple of those cannon windows up here, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there we go. I don't know, I'm just thinking maybe we put them on the lower level, but we'll see. We'll see how things end up looking. And then with this little section, maybe to tie this in, I'm really wondering how we do it down here. Maybe I could take something like this and then sort of just like, yeah, that doesn't look too bad. And just kind of wraps it around, has a nice little taper, and that's how we could connect it to that back section there, since we don't really come out like we did in the front. That is looking awesome, actually. So now I'm going to finish up some of the walls and working on this bottom level here. I think first things first, let's bring the floor all the way across. And we'll figure out where I want the stairs and all of that stuff to go a little bit later on. Right now I am just blocking out the main shape of the ship. Maybe we'll have our stairs even like right up front there. So I'll leave that open for a little bit. And I actually want this back section to kind of come out a little bit like this. Let's come like that, and then even go like this here. And let's go all the way back. I want to almost make like a really wide, like captain's cabin that comes up the top. And for this bottom section here, I'm going to actually get rid of these guys that we just did, these ramps. And instead, I am going to put these larger deck pieces. Maybe here is a window instead. Reinforced deck window. We'll put one of those there. And then go back to the blackstone and put some pieces like that maybe. And then one more like right in this section. Oh, we had it right there. Perfect. And then do I have a reinforced door here for the deck? I'm not sure I do. Let's see what we have for the black side. I do have kind of a little something like that, but it cuts off the stairs a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do instead is just take some of these smaller wall pieces and do a little something like that for the doors. And that should look pretty nice. So I'm going to replicate the same thing to the other side. This right here even could be another cannon. We're going to be all kitted up on this ship. It'll be quite nice. And maybe even in the front I'll end up doing cannons. I'm not quite sure, like pointing forward, since I don't actually have any pointing forward. But for now, I'm just going to mirror exactly what we did over there to this side. And there we go. Now it's finished on this side, and you'll notice I also finished the front portion of it and came up with a cool design to do the cannon sort of facing forward there. So I'm going to show you exactly how I did that now on the other side. So we started from this design right here, and what I'm going to do is take our blackstone. We're going to continue these up, basically. Something just like that, all the way across. And then take the reinforced deck pieces. And I'm going to put a solid one right here. And then this one here is going to be a window, just like so. And then another solid one, just like that. And a cannon right on that side. And a solid piece right in there. And then for the top and bottom sections, the difference that I did from what I originally did here is rather than using this piece here, which just doesn't quite fit or able to be mirrored on the top, what I do instead is I can kind of just put 3 of those pieces just like that. And we'll do the same thing up top here. So 1, 2, 3, and then taking my little wall pieces and just kind of filling in right there. So we sort of have that little section there, just kind of close out the cannon. And then we can go ahead and put a cannon right on the front section like that. And we could also put another one on the side here if we wanted to. I'm not entirely sure if I'll keep these ones on the sides exactly where they are or shift them to be in another spot. But that to me looks really cool, and it kind of blends it in, but keeps some cannons facing forward. And then for this little section in here, I fill this in basically just by using a few of the little pieces. So if we go to the reinforced deck, I used a couple of these and just kind of continue them out like that. And then destroyed the bottom one using a few of the upside down triangle pieces. And for this top section, that one doesn't snap, so I just put a little floor piece in there since it's kind of hidden anyway. And then that top one, it seems to snap okay. And here is our interior on this level so far. So now for a little bit more work on this upper section, I am going to take the blackstone again and do a bunch of windows right across here, because that just feels right to me for a big airship. Gotta be able to see out, and this level, since there's no cannons, I think windows would just be really, really cool up here. And then maybe another 1 or 2 windows up in the front, some little like diagonal ones here. And then we can take the walls and sort of continue those. You can see there's a tiny little gap there that I'll try to deal with here in a second. So let's do the walls and then do some windows here. And then for this little gap here that's left over, you can see I can't really snap anything there because it's colliding. And same thing if I try to use the reinforced deck, it just won't quite snap in that little section. So what I found instead is that maybe we destroy that piece, then we could take our blackstone and maybe just use like a door frame like that. And then for some reason, if you snap that inner section first, this outer portion will then snap without any issues, and it'll be just fine there. So rather than having the window here, I think I'm going to reverse these two, have the wall right here, and then the window right there so that you can actually look out of it. And then we'll just kind of deal with this little floating beam in here as if it's a little support beam. And then this back section here, let's see, I think I want to do 2 windows, something just like that, so they can see out a little bit on the back portion. And then I'm going to continue it by a half a wall above here. So I'm going to get rid of just these 2 little outer portions. And then we can actually put those at the very top here. This could look pretty cool. Have a little point at the front of the ship that comes up. And then we can just take the little half walls and continue our way back to here. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side here. There we go. And then taking the floor piece, I'm going to continue out with a floor, at least on this very back section. And I might even do like a little balcony that overlooks the lower portion as well. But like I said, we'll figure out where the stairs go, so I'm not going to come too far forward with the floor just yet. And I'm going to continue this little section here with another little rim here. This little half wall all the way around the rest of the ship. And then for the top level, we are just going to continue this floor all the way across in this wider section right here. And now once that's filled in, I am going to do exactly what I did on the lower portion up here, taking these triangle pieces and just putting 3 of them on each side. So we can fill in this top section there. Something just like so. And that looks pretty good to me. We've got the cannons kind of on the bottom front there. We could even put some on the top section, but I think that's enough for now. Maybe as I get a chance to play the game more, I will figure out the perfect number of cannons and all of that stuff. But this seems pretty good to me so far. And then for the top section of the back of the ship, I did go ahead and mirror what I did on the front there to make this diagonal floor. And then I found a cool design for the stairs that I'm happy with. I'm going to come out with these guys here. We're going to come out with 2 of them, just like that, on both sides. And then I'm going to grab my shallow stairs, and we're going to do something just like that. And then on the bottom here, we're going to get some more of the shallow stairs. And then I can't really get rid of these 2 floors because they are actually structurally supporting the side walls and some of the pieces. So what I'm going to do instead is we're just going to fill in underneath them, just like that. We'll take the little upside down triangles here and fill in just like so. And then that could become a little like storage compartment or something along those lines. Maybe we could even just fill in the sides of the stairs there to make things look extra nice. And there we have it. So a couple little storage compartments, and then we head up in this direction. And I don't really want the cannons over here, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And instead, these will become some solid black stone walls here. So we'll just go ahead and fill those in. And then same thing with this one on this side. We'll just have the little black stone wall. So then they can come up, they've got the nice windows, and then come up over here where they will be at the cabin. And then now we can just go ahead and fill in this floor. So there's our back section, and now I'm going to come up with something for the front section here. All right, so after a bit of planning, I am really happy with how this turned out. I also went ahead and put a wooden railing around the top portion here. And then I did sort of like a 3-way stair area so they can get up top and then also get up to that level and then have a middle stair coming down right here. And then I hollowed out a little portion here with a little black stone wall around it just so you could kind of look down to the lower level. And then I also made some little bump out decks on the side using the triangle floor pieces there. I thought that looked nice, added a bit of texture to the build, and then I just put some little supports underneath them, just like that. And then as far as the lower level goes, because I was planning the stairs, I also went ahead and put some stairs going down to the base level here on both sides over the cannons there. And then also put a stair right in the middle here to get down to the engine room. So all the levels are now connected and everything is looking good. We are almost ready for a little bit of interior decoration and final touches. But the last thing I wanted to do, building-wise here, was to build the captain's cabin. I want to do something large right in the center of the ship here. So I am going to get my blackstone, and I'm going to use these door frame pieces. And we are going to sort of continue like a little open pillar area around here. And I'm going to do like an elevated captain's cabin. It'll be fairly large, but I think this plan will turn out nice. So I'm just going to continue those around. And then I'm going to get the roof pieces and essentially continue these all the way around, as well as filling in the little corners there. And there we go, something just like that. And then I'm going to take the sandstone pieces and go to the 45-degree roofs and continue those up on either side, either of the long ends here. I figure it'd be nice to have a slightly different variation in texture and color for this captain's cabin portion. And then I'm going to take my sandstone window walls and I want to line those up along the outer edges here. But because they don't snap, I have to create my little dummy floors here. So I'm going to go ahead and put something like that there. Let's do that for now and create a little floor outline all the way along the sides. And then with that, I can now snap these window walls here. So I will go ahead and do that on both sides. And then I'm going to take my blackstone floor piece and put it along the outer edges here on both sides. Something like that. And then go back to my sandstone and take the upside down triangle piece, and we are going to sort of snap it right in to fill in all of these little gaps. So that is looking pretty nice. Just kind of flares out, adds a little bit of texture. And now for the big window in the front for the captain to see out of. I'm going to destroy those and then use my sandstone here. Or actually, let's do the blackstone for this. Let's do some triangles of blackstone. I want to do something just like that, I think. That should be pretty good. And then we can go to our glass, because the blackstone actually has these large glass window panes. And I'm going to put those around. And then go to the reinforced deck again and do the double door frame, which actually does snap in between these glass panes to sort of break them up a little bit, add a little bit of texture there. And I think that looks super nice. And then we can go back to our sandstone and fill in the little edge pieces here. One right there and one over here. And now for the roof of this section, I'm going to go back to my blackstone and we're going to almost make it like a little bit rounded. So I'm going to do this little triangle flare out on both sides, just like that on the other side as well. There we go. And then I want to take my supports and kind of angle them in on the corners as well as this middle section here. So we'll do something like that right there. And then on the very outside, something just like that. And then same thing to the other side. And now that those are done, I want to start working on the roof here. So I'm going to use these triangle roof pieces, and we are going to basically place them every other one and alternate them. So all the way across the side, and then wrapping around just like that, and then taking the upside down ones to fill in the middles of each of them. And once that's done on both sides, on this back section here, I'm going to take the shallow roof pieces, and we are just going to essentially complete those all the way across here. And then I'm going to take the floors again, and we're going to fill in, because I don't want this roof section to be too sloped. So we're just going to leave it at that height and fill in with these floors all the way up to the front of the cabin here. There we go. And then I'm going to continue them over top of this little window lookout section, and then take the triangle floors and put these out, something like that. And also continuing them out on the sides, just like so. And I may even decide to get rid of this middle piece, because as I'm building this, it actually might look kind of cool to almost do like two little points coming out and sort of really develop these. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to maybe take some of these pieces, put them on either side, something like that maybe. And then, let's see here. What about these pieces maybe on both sides like that? And then we could get some more of the roof pieces. Let's go to the triangle ones and kind of fill in on both sides here, as well as in the front maybe there. Yeah, this could look kind of cool. I don't know, just some more texture and an interesting design, since we can do that with the pieces. And then for these middle pieces, I think all we can do to sort of fill those in is going to be to sort of snap these. I was originally thinking maybe we could use these inner corners here, but unfortunately they don't want to snap in these places against a triangle piece. So what I think I'll do instead is do one of those roof pieces in the center. We can use those corner pieces like that. And then we'll just go ahead and do the floors right above here. Something like that. And then we can take some more of these pieces and maybe even continue up a little farther on the back side to really create some points. I think that could be pretty cool. And then maybe we put some walls over here like that, and then bring these along the back sides, and then maybe even point them up a little bit farther. Something along those lines. Let's see how that's looking. That actually looks really cool. I'm happy with that. That adds some neat looking texture to the place. And then we could also add a speed sail to the very top of it. I don't know how this is going to look, but if it does look anything good, then maybe it could be cool. So let's do the Falcon-Class speed sail, and maybe right in the center of the top, right here. We could put one of those, and then when we fly the ship and that expands, yeah, just sort of having that like triangle effect. Having one on the very top, I feel like could be kind of cool there. Yeah, that's looking really good to me. And then inside the captain's cabin here, I am going to take some of the Blackstone stairs. Let's start with the little ones here, and I'll put them on both sides like that, and then the larger 45-degree ones, since we have our level at 1.5 of the walls high. So we'll do something like that. That's what I did on the bottom level. And I will take the floors and fill in up here so that we have a little bit of space for people to be up here, some seating, some crafting, any of that kind of stuff. And then I'm just using those little Blackstone walls basically to surround the stairs, just so people don't fall off quite as easily. Looks a little nicer, meets the OSHA standards. And then for in here, I want to do the captain's control deck area. Let's do it maybe right there. That looks nice. So we've got the big window to look out. We've got all the windows on the sides. And we can just kind of hang out here on the deck. So that is most of the building part of the ship complete. Aside from the decoration, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks nice. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that you can use dies. These die balls can be crafted as you unlock them. And I'm going to use some brown ones on the entire top portion of the deck here, just to give a variation in color. I think that will look really nice. Yeah, that's gonna look awesome. So I'm going to dye this entire top deck here the brown. Yeah, maybe wrapping around the sides there. That could look nice. And then the floor up in here as well, just that portion. So I'll do that to the whole top portion here. And there we go. Now the entire top deck is dyed a lighter brown, and at least looking at the ship from a top-down angle, that just adds a bit of texture and makes it look a little nicer. And to do the same on the bottom here, just to break up this hard black edge here, I want to use the purple ones. And I don't know how this is going to look. We're going to try it and see. But basically going around the entire bottom, I'm not going to do those supports, just the wall pieces, and sort of creating ourselves a little rim on the very bottom, because the purple and gold could look really, really cool. And yeah, I think that does. Just adds a splash of color to the ship. So I'll do that on the other side as well. And now with that, I am going to call the exterior of the ship now complete. Of course, there's a little more detail I could add here and there and all, but I think it's time we move on to the interior and deck this place out a little bit. Alright, so I've spent some time doing some interior decorating, and now let me take you on a full tour of the finished airship, and then of course we will see how it flies as well. So entering into the main level of the ship, this is obviously where all the cannons are, and then I decorated this little portion to be kind of a little living dining area. So we've got the dining table, some seating around the fireplace for some of our tribesmen and NPCs, a little bit of storage, a little hanging brazier, little plants and things. I think it's pretty cozy and turned out nicely. And then if we head downstairs, this level I turned into a crafting room, a crafting/storage room. And just to give you guys a sense of things, this is only about a quarter, if that, of the available crafting stations to place in the game. So you really can go all out and build a huge village in the sky, and you will not be at a lack of furniture or crafting stations to be able to fill it up. and really make use of the space. So I tried to fit what I could, and I think it turned out pretty good. Got a bunch of storage here behind the stairs, and then the engine as well here. So if I turn my HUD back on, this one takes the large power crystals as well as the medium power crystals, and then we can click enable, and that should turn it on so that when we get up to the top in the cabins area to control the ship, we can actually go ahead and set sail and fly this thing around. So now if we head up to the next level up here, this level I kind of turned into the sleeping quarters area. So we've got some nice cozy beds, little carpet, wardrobe area, and then I put some furniture out on these little balconies here, little benches and things, just for our tribespeople to hang out. And then, just like I mentioned earlier, I did go ahead and turn these little cubby sections into some more storage and crates. I thought that looked kind of nice. You can also put these little shutters on the windows, which is kind of cool to be able to open and close those. So I thought that was kind of neat. And then you can either take this portion up, or we can take the front portion up over here to get to the very top. And we can sit out right over here, the very point front of the ship, look out over the view, and then head right up here. And then this big thing is a rock breaker turret, so you can basically control it and shoot a bunch of stuff. And I thought being up on the deck here, it had a pretty open 360 view to be able to do that. So that ended up working out pretty well. And then we have a little campfire, also could be set as a spawn, and then having a little hot tub or a little bathtub over here. And then we head back in here, and it's pretty open and empty over here. Nothing too much, just to keep it spacious, be able to have a bunch of people on here walking around. And then heading up in here for the cabin's quarters, we just have a little chair, a little carpet, and I went ahead and placed a little bed, a little table, and a carpet back in here and stuff, a couple chests side by side. So just sort of a little private, cozy room for the captain. And then before we fly this thing, I want to mention one of the best parts about this building system. So if you go up to the ship helm and then hold E, you will see shipbuilding blueprint settings. And yes, you can turn your entire airship into a blueprint for someone else to copy in their own world or take with you to a different world. It's a really cool system, so you can just give it a title, a description, the author, version, channel log, even take like a little image if you wanted to. We could just say confirm there, it'll have a little image. You can choose it to be public, friends only, hidden, private, and then create local, which will add it to your folder, in your games folder, and then you can also upload it to their workshop for other players to browse and download, which is just super cool. So I will definitely consider doing that for you all once this update officially comes out. So do stay tuned for that, but without further ado, let's go ahead and fly this thing. So we can just click E at the helm, and here we go. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in or out of your ship to get a full view of where you're flying. And then when we want to take off, we will go ahead and press the space bar, and that will fold everything out. Look at that animation. That is awesome. And then we can just hold the space bar, and we now have liftoff. This is absolutely incredible. So yeah, I love the airships in this game. I think this is a really cool concept. And then with our speed engine, as well as all the speed sails, we can turn pretty quick. This thing is actually not too hunky. It feels pretty agile. But yeah, just check that out. I absolutely love it. The mix of steampunk, pirate ship, ancient Egyptian vibe for this build is definitely kind of fun, and I really love it. I think it looks great. So I hope this video gave you a sense of what's possible with the new shipbuilding system in this game. I really do think Soulmask has always been a super fun and amazing game, but this does take it to a whole nother level. So do be sure to click the link in the description and be ready for when it releases. And as I mentioned earlier, be sure to subscribe for my next video where I'll be going through more of the gameplay features of this new map, including some of the boss fights, survival elements, and new mask abilities. So do stay tuned for all of that, and until next time, cheers.